Hello there, we're live from our studios here in Kokomene. Digital address GA0992539. This is your home of fearless, credible and independent journalism. Our lead stories this hour. Approval of 3 deputy minister designates, including one to the Attorney General, withheld. We'll tell you who these deputy ministers are and why they won't be at post just yet. We're live in Parliament as Finance Minister gets more time to respond to the presidential jet matter, and government is accused of running away from accountability on that expenditure. Also, 3 persons seen in a viral video toting guns and threatening people arrested in the Ashanti region. We catalogue the security concerns across the country, focusing on Ashanti, Upper East and the Central region. Former Kokobo CEO Dr. Stephen Opuni's trial put on hold as he petitions Chief Justice Aninyeboa seeking his intervention in the trial, which was ongoing at the High Court. We have details. And the Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable, Safe Sanitation. Join us on DSTV 421, GoTV 144. We're streaming live on YouTube and on our social media handles. I am Gifty Ando-Apia. This is the Pulse. Please be my guest. Parliament has withheld the approval of 3 deputy minister designates following concerns by the minority. Gifty Chum Ampofo, who has been appointed to the Education Ministry, Amidu Isahako Chinya, who is headed to the Sanitation Ministry, and Diana Asunaba Dapa, who is Deputy Attorney General designate, were part of a list of 15 nominees the House considered today. But the report of the Appointment Committee recommending approval was amended to exclude the 3 following objections by the minority. Deputy Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin has been responding to this. Afenyo-Markin there, but the Member of Parliament for Northom, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, has been speaking about the presidential jet matter, and we'll bring you more on that. He's saying that the government is running away from responsibilities. President Akufo-Addo, in his recent trip to Europe, has been criticized for spending much more than he should have when a presidential jet was available for his use. But that matter has been a bone of contention in Parliament. Let's hear Okudzeto-Ablakwa, who says government is running away from accountability.
This is about financial accountability. This is about financial prudence. This is about national priorities. This is about protecting the public purse, which the president himself pledged that he will do. So it's curious. It's very curious that on a matter like this, remember, since we raised it, since my first publication, government has just stayed away. You in the media have complained about how difficult it has been for you to get a response from government. Now we've brought them to the more appropriate forum where they are constitutionally bound to be accountable. And there's all of these delay tactics. It must strike you as very strange, because really, what do they have to hide? If you don't have anything to hide, if you have acted above board.
Well, I'd like to sincerely apologize for that mix-up ongoing there, but you heard Okudzeto-Ablakwa speaking about the presidential jet. That's one of the issues in Parliament that we'll be dealing with. But another issue in Parliament is what I started with, that deputy minister designates will not be approved. Let's go back to Parliament and hear from the Deputy Majority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, speaking about the fact that some of those who were to be approved have not been.
A civil war begins in Finland on Wednesday. It is the very first such case to be partly heard on Liberian soil. Gabriel Masakwai.
I'm sure that the 3rd report will be ready, and Tuesday, God willing, when we come back, same will be tabled, and then the appropriate motion moved for consideration. The work of Parliament, as Mr. Speaker rightly indicated, is founded on rules and procedure. The parliamentary jurisprudence is clear on what must be done at committee level and at plenary. To me, it's not about somebody's personal sentiment or somebody's personal disagreement. And for the record and for the avoidance of doubt, we are hearing that some nominees or a nominee might have had an issue with a member of parliament. But that, to my mind, is a personal matter. We voted by consensus. And for whatever concerns that anybody has, I'm sure that on Tuesday we're going to resolve it. So there should be no need to be worried at all. On Friday, the House agreed, last week Friday, that the committee agreed to sit. And we did. Of course, some members were absent, but the work of the committee continued. We concluded our work. So there's no problem, and so far, I would say the leadership of the minority side has been very cooperative, and that has been the spirit within which we have worked. So I thank you so much, unless there are some questions for specific responses. Yes, please. I have indicated that we have some outstanding reports. Let's wait on Tuesday so that we deal with that one. We are done with all our hearings. We have presented some reports, 2 out of 3. Obviously, on Tuesday, you have the benefit of the 3rd report of the deputy ministerial nominees that we considered. So let's not preempt whether or not somebody was approved by consensus or not.
Oh no, this is a yes or no answer.
That's what you think.
What made the committee decide to remove her name from the list?
Ab initio, I indicated that the posture of this parliament is as much as possible to build consensus. You recall that when we finished with Honorable Ejapamese's vetting, there were few issues out there in the media. The whole process has been that after each day's hearing, we take a decision. It is within the right of a member to express a concern. Sometimes a member may want to say that, right, I want to be satisfied on this matter. For the purpose of working together, you would want to give that space. So if you saw today on the House floor, Honorable Ejapamese's name was part of those that were approved by consensus. Meanwhile, it was out there in the media that he had been rejected. So it tells you that there are different stages in the consideration process. And it is the right of a member to express a concern. Legitimately so, when same is well grounded on fact or in law, it is only fair that the nominee is given the opportunity to address it. And I think that that has been it. So don't let us pick and choose. There is no controversy. We have built consensus on majority of them. The rest of them, we have also taken steps to discuss further what we are supposed to do. And I'm saying that on Friday, on Tuesday, the report will be laid, which will be the last report. Then we move on to do the special prosecutor.
I think we are specific about
indicated that there is no such problem with any nominee. On the House floor today, the amendments that were made to the report was not an amendment in respect of a particular nominee.
Alexander Fenamakin is deputy Majority leader in parliament there. Essentially what he's trying to say is that there is no concern, there is no controversy here. There are just stages. We'll get Joseph Opoku Gakpo to help us understand exactly what the concerns that have been raised by the minority are. But the Tamale North MP Alhassan Suhuyini says that he is glad that he got the support of the entire minority to push back on the approvals. Listen.
With situations that sometimes make it difficult for us to live above below the expectations of our constituents. Our conscience need to be alive to the obvious threats of especially corruption to our democracy. And I, unfortunately, in my interaction with the nominee during the vetting and after the vetting, I was left with the impression that this is a nominee who doesn't see anything wrong with what the CDD found out in relation to what she did during her primaries. That left a bitter taste in my mouth, and I thought that it needed to be addressed. If for nothing at all, there's a need for us to continue to keep the conscience of people alive, to the need for all of us to contribute our quota, however little, to the fight against corruption. We understand. In fact, there is a report that says that corruption in Africa, especially in our part of our world, is driven by the need of the society. So it is difficult for one to want to suggest that we can wish away corruption, or we can wake up and live in a society that is corruption-free. But the little steps that we make towards that must not be killed. And that will be killed when we begin to numb our conscience towards the fight against corruption. And so I was not satisfied, and I want to thank the leadership of the minority, the caucus in general, for the solidarity. In fact, it gives me inspiration that indeed, when it comes to doing what is right, when the approach and the circumstances and the situations are right, our side will always rise up to the occasion. So upon further consultations with leadership, it was decided that her name be stepped down today for further consultations before the House takes a decision on her. But I do not want this to be about me and how I felt. I want it to be about how, after my interaction with her during the vetting and after the vetting, left me with the feeling that this was a nominee whose conscience was not alive to the threat of corruption to the democracy that we practice.
A nominee whose conscience is not aligned to the threat of corruption. Not Alhassan Suhuyini there. Let me go to Parliament now. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is standing by to give us the details. Hello, Joseph. Hello, Joseph. Joseph, I'm hopeful that you can hear me. So it looks from what the Honourable Member of Parliament, Alhassan Suhuyini, is saying, that he made the move for the withdrawal of the names of these people from the list. Is this accurate?
So his concern specifically had to do with Gifty Chumampofo, who is actually heading to the Ministry of Education as the Deputy Minister designate. Now, as we've come to know, there are 3 of them, and the reasons vary. In the case of the other 2, that's Amidu Ishiaku Chinia, who is headed to the Sanitation and Water Resources Ministry, as well as Diana Suna Badapa, who is headed to the Office of the Attorney General as deputies. The concern that the minority raises is that, you recall last Friday, when the Speaker had directed that MP should go do tree planting, some vetting happened. As far as these individuals are concerned, there were 4 of them who appeared. These 2 individuals, plus Martin Ejime Sakosa and the Deputy Minister designate for the Foreign Affairs Ministry. So what we're gathering is that the reason why the minority insisted that they are not approving these other 2, plus Gifty Chumampofo as deputy ministers, has to do with the fact that when it comes to those 2, they were part of the 4 individuals who were vetted on the Friday that Parliament was supposed to be doing tree planting, and the minority MPs say as a result of that, they did not show up to the House to come undertake the vetting exercise. And so, apart from these 2 individuals, we are expecting a final report on 15 other deputy ministers, which we also gathering the minority will again object to 2 individuals on that list because they were not part of that vetting process. So the 2 others has to do with the fact that the minority says they were not part of the vetting process because they thought they were supposed to be in their constituencies planting trees. And then when it comes to the deputy minister designate for the education ministry, the concern was raised by Hassan Suhini that when you look at the NPP primaries that unfolded sometime last year, there was the documentary that was put out by Corruption Watch, which is a CDD initiative, that claimed that she had given out up to 1,500 CDs and flat screen TVs to delegates as alleged bribe, which they got her to confirm that she did. And so Mr. Suhini had sought to probe that at the vetting, and she defended the practice. And for Mr. Suhini, that's an indication that she isn't very much up to the task when it comes to the fight against corruption, which is why he's kicking against her nomination. And then he says he had indicated to the chairman of the committee that he was voting against the approval. But when the committee's report came to the floor, the report said that they were recommending all these individuals for approval by consensus, which is why the minority pulled brakes on the process. And eventually what we saw was that the report of the appointment committee was amended, and the names of these 3 individuals were taken out, and the rest of the 12 were approved. And the indication is that they will be dealt with sometime next week in terms of the approval using a very separate process.
Sounds pretty interesting. We've heard from both sides now, Joseph. I want us to focus a bit more on the finance minister and his expected presence in Parliament to answer this specific question about the presidential jet. Yesterday, since the whole of this week, we've had a lot of conversation going on. We've had the Member of Parliament for North Tong, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, and who has been speaking about it. It looks like we'll all have to wait a little longer because the Finance Minister has been given some more time to come to Parliament to answer questions to this. Joseph, I want to come back to you so you tell us what has become of that today. But we can listen to Honorable Arnaud Dompre, who is a majority chief whip, in a banter with Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa on the floor of Parliament on this matter.
There were 2 questions I cited. One related to the aircraft, and the other related to the finance minister in terms of the volume or the quantum of funds spent. Those of you who have been in this house long enough, you know every Thursday we have a business committee meeting. And the business committee is a committee of Parliament. It's not made up of only the majority side. It's both sides represented on the committee. I chair the committee today. The majority leader, whom you all know is bereaved, was unavoidably unavailable. So I chaired the committee. Members of the minority were there. This matter came up. And we were reliably informed that the specific answer to that specific question was not ready at that time. And hence, we had to defer that question. And if you saw or witnessed it, the honorable minority leader, when the Honorable Ablakwa got up and raised the matter, the honorable minority leader got up and spoke to him to remind him of the decision at the committee level. Now, in this house, the tools that we use, statements, questions, and all that, all of us have explored it. But you see, to accept or not to accept a question lies in the bosom of the speaker. And it's the speaker that makes that decision. So if a member has a question, regardless whether the question has been advertised for in the order paper or not, you have a responsibility to follow up at the speaker's secretariat, especially where your leader has told you that the question has been deferred because answers are not ready. In my view, it's preemptive and quite unnecessary for the member to hold a press conference and begin to read meanings to words as if the minister is afraid to come and answer the question. Don't know, the minister was in the house today. He answered a similar question. So we must all come to an understanding that it is because the answer was not ready. That was why the minister didn't come to respond to that particular question. And we must get this clear enough.
This is about financial accountability. This is about financial prudence. This is about national priorities. This is about protecting the public purse, which the president himself pledged that he will do. So it's curious. It's very curious that on a matter like this, remember since we raised it, since my first publication, government has just stayed away. You in the media have complained about how difficult it has been for you to get a response from government. Now we've brought them to the more appropriate forum where they are constitutionally bound to be accountable. And there's all of these delay tactics. It must strike you as very strange because really, what do they have to hide? If you don't have anything to hide, if you have acted above board, if you are not trying to buy time, for whatever reason, I don't want to be accused of being, if you like, putting the cart before the horse or engaging in prejudicial commentary. But clearly, this is worrying. This is worrying. And it appears that it's as though something is happening behind the scenes, and they need time to complete whatever they are doing. You don't get a good sense. This, as I keep saying, is a sad day for accountability and for good governance. These are not the tenets of accountability of good governance. If you have nothing to hide, if you don't need to buy time to do anything untoward, you just respond and respond as quickly. I even thought that looking at the enormous public interest in this matter, government would not even have waited to be dragged here by urgent questions. Ministers could have come here with a statement, even before questions are filed. Yet none of that happened. What is so, complicated about this transaction that the finance ministry would need so much time, and the finance minister is not telling us even how much time extra he needs to respond?
That was rather press conferences held by both sides. You heard the Honorable Anodompre indicates that what Mr. Kojeto Ablakwa is doing is prejudicial because he has already filed questions on the floor to be answered. Well, Mr. Kojeto believes that this is a way to run away from accountability. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is still in Parliament. Joseph, this matter has come up, of course, in Parliament and it's been talked about. Honorable Afenyo-Markin has been speaking about it.
Precisely. So Mr. Afenyo-Markin has been delivering what is called the business statements going into next week, which is actually an outline of the business that the House will deal with going into next week, right on the floor. And Mr. Ablakwa did put that specific question to him about what is going to happen to this said question, which eventually the finance minister did not respond to, although he was present on the floor of the House yesterday and he had asked for more time. And Mr. Afenyo-Markin's response was that this is definitely something that will be dealt with in the course of the week, except that he didn't give a specific date that they will then go ahead and deal with that. And the business statement document itself spells out the specific ministers who would come on specific days to respond to questions. But when it comes to the day the Minister of Finance would come respond to that specific question, it's not on the document. But repeatedly, the assurance from the majority side is that he will actually come next week to respond to this particular question.
Interesting. Well, Joseph, while we move away from that one, we know that the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu, has also indicated that his side will be filing a motion to seek a parliamentary probe into government's procurement of vaccines. Wrap it up for us with that information.
Well, on the floor of the House, he indicated that this is something that they are taking very much seriously. He says that by close of day today, that motion will be filed, seeking a parliamentary probe, a bipartisan parliamentary probe into government's efforts to go ahead and procure COVID-19 vaccines. We've heard from the minority MPs repeatedly draw attention to claims that they said purchases, the cost has been inflated and all, which is what they are trying to then get to the bottom of. This is a motion that we gather Mr. Kujetua Blakwa, who is the ranking on the Foreign Affairs Committee, Kwabna Mintakando, who is the ranking on the Health Committee, and the minority leader himself, Haruna Idris, who are the signatories to this particular motion that has to be filed. It will eventually have to be debated on the floor. The Speaker will set a date for its debate. If majority of MPs back it, then they would go ahead and set up that committee to then do this probe. And from what we're gathering, if that happens, it's likely to be a public probe, which will then have various ministers and other officials show up to come respond to questions, even as the committee members who will then be asked to take up the task, interrogate them on this issue.
Anything else we need to share with our viewers before we leave you, Joseph?
Just to wrap it all up, we've gotten additional disclosures on some of the other businesses that the House will be dealing with next week, apart from approving about 15 deputy ministers. We're also expecting that the Minister for National Security will be in Parliament to respond to a question on issues having to do with, you recall, we had the situation where DCOP Ayensu Parado retired, the Ashanti Region Liaison Officer, was allegedly hounded out of office by alleged Delta Force members. There is a question that has been filed by Nesnogbe seeking that the minister comes to the House to explain the circumstances under which the retired police officer left office as Ashanti Regional Security Liaison Officer. And the other critical issue that the House will be dealing with next week is a question again from some of the minority MPs demanding answers from the Interior Minister as to why DSP Azugu, the famous DSP Azugu, is still in office at the level of the Ministry of National Security, even after the Justice Emil Short Commission that investigated the Ayawasu West Wogan by-election violence recommended that the SWAT team that he heads be disbanded. So, looks like very interesting times next week in Parliament when it comes to the security.
We're going to focus a lot on security in the Central region, in the Upper East region, in the Ashanti region, and here in Accra. Joseph, thank you very much for those details there. Joseph Opoku Gakpo is a parliamentary affairs correspondent. He joined me live from Parliament. Now let's talk about security. For months, armed robbers have rained terror on people in many parts of the country. In Accra, a police officer providing security for a bullion van and a mother of 3 were shot dead. But there's a lot of worry also in the Ashanti region, where armed robbers shot 5 people during an attack in the town of Manso Mosikrom. Today, police at Amansia South District have been combing the area as investigations get underway into Thursday night's gold robbery incident. 4 armed men shot 2 gold dealers in the legs. District Police Commander ASP Felix Akowa says the poor nature of roads remains a major challenge in fighting crime in the area. Solomon Ofori Amanfo has a report.
The 4 armed men stormed the Mansumo Sikrom area Thursday dawn to rob 4 gold buyers and a mobile money vendor at gunpoint. One of the victims shared his ordeal.
I ran better why 30. Me team me prono panya panya ni to pay na some pay no bad demo and others here cool and is here jusika then up
the men came to sell gold to me at 9 p.m. the previous day, amounting to 900 cedis and left. The next day around 1:30 a.m., I heard a hard knock at my door, followed by indiscriminate shooting, and they entered the room. They took all my money and asked me to bring my gold or I would lose my life. They took 10 pounds of gold and 8 blades.
10 pounds. 8 brace, I kept 2 brace, now 11 pounds. And
went for my wife's belongings and took all her money too. They asked me to follow them after the operation, believing I will report to the police if they leave me behind. They left me on our way and asked me to go.
District Police Commander ASP Felix Akuria visited the community to engage residents as part of investigations.
I had a call that was around 1:58 that armed robbers have invaded Musikrum community. Quickly, I dispatched FPO and SWAT team detachment that is at Mansour Dubia to come to the scene as first responders. They came. Before they got to the scene, the armed robbers has already succeeded and putted away with their booties. 2 persons were seriously injured. One has been further referred to Konfanochi Teaching Hospital for medication when he was sent to Agresum, St. Martin's Hospital. All that we are going to do is to extend motorbike patrols here. You know, when we are coming on the road, it's no more trouble. So we would like to use the motorbike patrols to always patrol this area. And we are also appealing to the general public, especially Musikrum resident, as far as this incident is concerned, to volunteer information. Police thrives on information, and we are assuring them that whoever volunteers any little information, his identity will be covered. No one would reveal the person's identity. So we are pleading with them that they should help us with information that we know to our benefit as far as investigations are concerned.
The Mansour area is notorious for such robbery incident. Barely a year ago, armed robbers shot and killed 3 people at Mansour Dadiase. Residents want improved security in the area to protect lives and property.
Me yes ada me ba be bie me do na senti ma bie do no ana me bie curtains kakra nti bie curtains no na chese tu ba ku gina ogina ha wadi tu na point me.
I heard the noise of Nana shouting and decided to peep through the window to find out what was happening. I saw a gun pointed at Nana and I immediately hid under my bed till they were gone. We want improved security from the government. The police could have been here earlier, but for the bad mood. We are not praying such incidents recur. But we want the government to do something about it.
Reporting for Joy News, Obideshie Ofori Amanfo.
Well, we'll still stay in the Ashanti region for more of this. Well, if you recall, some videos have gone viral. In those videos, you see young men toting guns and threatening people. Take a look.
No good advice. No good advice. No boozing, motherfucker.
Well, these 3 people who are seen flaunting the guns in a viral social media video have been picked up by police in Kumasi. The police say the 3, all siblings, have been identified as Reverend Alfred Dakra, 43, Emmanuel Dakra and Richard Sulemana, aged 26 and 28 respectively. They were picked up at Goso in Obuasi. A 4th person is being sought. Police retrieved a pump-action gun and 5 spent cartridges. 4 people in that viral video shot are yet to be identified, and identified and to be found at their location. They are seen brandishing pump-action guns and pistols, as you saw in that video. Speculations have been rife that the suspects might have used the arms for criminal activities. Deputy Ashanti Regional Police Commander DCOP David Ajiman Ajim told the media, although statements have been taken from the suspects, police have yet to charge them. According to him, they will remain in custody within the mandated 48 hours. He's appealing to the public, especially those who might have fallen victim to these gentlemen, to come out with information.
Ongoing at Mansour Musikrum, the police SWAT team stationed at Mansour Edubia district proceeded to the scene, but the alleged robbers fled or had fled the scene before the arrival of the police team. Our preliminary investigation indicated that there were about 6 armed men wielding pump-action guns and machetes. And they had gone into the community to attack the gold buyers in the community. They had robbed them of their monies and some gold, as well as their mobile phones. It was also learned that they had shot and wounded 2 persons who had been taken to the St. Martin's Hospital at Manso Agro-Isum to receive attention. And so most of you have been asking, we are investigating the matter. The police also retrieved 15 empty cartridges from the scene. We are keeping these for evidential purposes. And efforts are ongoing to arrest these hoodlums. We would take this opportunity to appeal to every person, especially those who live in and around the community and have information on the issue, to provide the police with all the information they have so that we can together apprehend and prosecute these criminals. In another development, I'm sure all of us have seen videos circulating of the young men on my right. These young men have been variously described as robbers in both the print and radio, as well as on social media. We have these 3 men in our custody in relation to those videos and pictures that we have seen. We have retrieved a pump-action gun, as you can see. The suspects, all belonging to the same family, are Reverend Alfred Dakora, 43 years, Emmanuel Dakora, alias Obo, 26, and Richard Suleiman, 28 years. There's a 4th suspect who we are trying to, or we are making effort to also arrest. We would keep them in our custody as we investigate the matters. They have denied, as you have seen in other videos, that they are not criminals. And so the command would like to appeal to anybody, for that matter, the general public, especially those who allege any criminal activity against these young men, to come forward, give us information so that if it is possible, we can put them before the courts. If anyone has information, whether they claim they have been attacked or they have any information about anything any of these men have done, they should let us know as soon as possible. If anyone has information, the person may reach us through these lines: 191 18555 and 02999 207770. Let me add that we live with persons in our communities who perpetrate criminality. But we hardly come up to the police with information in connection with these persons. We should understand that as citizens of Ghana, the Constitution gives us certain responsibilities, including to report when crimes take place in our presence. And so it is our collective responsibility as citizenry to report any person who lives in our community and engages in criminality. If we all did this, I am sure the police would be able to do their work better and to make our country safer.
And that's the commander there who have arrested the 3 gentlemen you've seen in that viral video. In fact, that video has been circulating very, very widely. We'll be talking to Ohime Teria, my colleague, who has been monitoring this story for us, as well as the previous one about armed robbers attacking, shooting, and taking into their possession gold that belonged to some gold dealers that they attacked. Ohime Teria joins me now. Hello, Ohime. Okay, I'll try and reach Ohime back on the line now, but Ohime has been following this story for us. 2 stories. Some armed robbers have shot and stolen gold from some gold dealers in the Ashanti region. In the same region, 3 persons, as who you're seeing in the video now, have been arrested by the police. Some pump-action gun has been retrieved from them, as well as 15 spent shells. Also, Ohime is joining us with more. Hello, Ohime.
Hello, Gipsy.
Right, Ohime, I'm wondering if these gentlemen who have been arrested today said anything, because right after the video of them, flaunting their guns, they did another video in which they say that they are not thieves and that they are only illegal miners. At the arrest today, you saw them. Did they say anything?
Unfortunately, police wouldn't give details to the information that they shared with police, except that the Deputy Regional Police Commander, DCOP David Ajemanajem, did mention that they have taken statements from them, whilst police continue the search for the 4th person.
Okay.
But coincidentally, these are 3 siblings, so the 4th person, we are not too sure of what his identity could be, whether he's also a member of the family or probably outside the family. But as it stands now, police is actually inviting people from residents to support police with investigations on these persons. For instance, if they have committed any crime, if they have committed or engaged in any nefarious activity, they should go to any nearby police station to report to assist in their investigation. But as police says, they will continue to remain in their custody till the mandated 48 hours, after which they are likely to be released and come granted bail in that regard.
Ohime, tell us a little bit about these, the gun, I beg your pardon, the gun that was taken from them by the police. Did the police provide information as to whether or not it's been registered?
No, I tried to find out from the police, but the only thing they said was that, yes, it's a pump-action gun with 5 spent shells. So once they have commenced investigations, the investigations will unravel all these details. So we are likely to go back to the police and ask them for details again, because once they just commence investigations, it's not every information that they can put in the public domain. The only thing that they assured us is that, yes, they will continue to do their best, anything possible within their powers to bring some sort of security, sanity in the security in the region. So yes, they didn't provide details on whether the gun is registered or not, only that they give the identity of the gun and then the 5 expensions. All these are very important as far as investigations into crimes are concerned.
I mean, so at this point, we don't know this person who is at large, but that person is supposed to be in the previous video, the first video that went viral.
Yes, he's the fourth person in the video. But I must say, if you look at the video, you compare the personalities that we saw today at the police station and that in the video. Earlier, police has had counted claims that the video was something that was recorded, presently. They have said that this was something that has been in circulation for some time. So this afternoon, in the morning when I tried asking police about whether the video is anything new, they wouldn't want to comment on it except to say that they've started investigations. And so these are, yes, people who were in the video. And the fourth person that we are yet to be identified was also in the first video that was circulating and went viral on social media. But I must also add that police says the persons or the siblings have already given statements to them, and they did also, recorded another video indicating that they are not armed robbers. Even at the police station, when we try to take videos and pictures of them, I could hear the younger ones, say you, and then the other gentleman, Suleimana, complained bitterly, and that's why they be taking their photographs to be taken in the public. And then I also heard the elders among them, Alfred, 43-year-old man, indicating that they are not armed robbers, they haven't committed any crime, so they should calm down and allow the journalists to do their work. But even then, they have expressed concerns about how journalists, retrieve the video, put it in the public domain, on which now it has become an issue of national importance, and they have been, arrested and being questioned on this viral video that they recorded. But I must say, they can't force anybody, because after all, they are the ones who recorded the videos in possession of guns, and they are the ones who also, circulated the video. Just that with the advent of social media, anything that you do, you get support, unnecessary support, people that you don't expect them to support them, they also provide that kind of support to you. So they themselves are not happy that they are being treated this way. They've already said, they are not criminals, but they were in there, doing legitimate business with that recording. But that recording is something that has given them out, and now they are being questioned based on the video recordings that they did. Not any ordinary video recording, but in possession of arms.
Ohiming, let's talk briefly before you go about the attack on the gold dealers, also in the Ashanti region. Is this something that happens often in the area?
For Manso, it is not new. It's not something new. I have covered about 3 robbery incidents where gold dealers are targeted in recent times when, for instance, the driver of the then Amansia South DC was shot, and then one other police officer was also shot. It was all because of this robbery incident. The people have gone to the community to rob the community and the gold dealers in that community. So it's something that has been happening. But I must say, these nefarious activities, happen. In most cases, police are unable to track and arrest them because of the bad nature of road in that area. And beyond the bad nature of road in that enclave, there's also issue with a mobile and network connectivity. So even when you want to reach out to police, there's problem with that. You can't easily get access to police. So they've taken advantage of all these factors. And it's not even once in a while, many a time you hear this happening. There are instances when they strike, police or security operatives become targets, and they do happen most often. But I must say, apart from the one that was recorded in the area where the DCE's driver, another police officer was involved, it has taken some time for this incident to reoccur. So it's just a reoccurrence, and it continues to happen until police is able to map our strategy to deal with this menace.
Much for the details on both stories. Ohiming Teria, there's a member of the Security Desk. While Director General in charge of Legal and Prosecution at the Ghana Police Service, COP Nathan Kofi Boakye, says arresting perpetrators behind the Jamestown bullion van attack is non-negotiable for the service. He has reiterated the police's commitment to track and arrest suspects behind the attack, which led to the death of General Constable Emmanuel Osei and a trader. COP Kofi Boakye was speaking in Kumasi during a passing out ceremony for 320 recruits into the Ghana Police Service.
It must be stated that recent criminal activities perpetrated by a network of criminal gangs have shaken the foundation of the West Africa sub-region and threatened its peaceful international accolade. And specifically to Ghana, we have all recently witnessed the dastardly act of criminals. And at this point, I must ask everybody, crave your indulgence to stand up so that we observe 1 minute silence for our colleague Emmanuel Osei, who lost his life to such a criminal activity. At this point, I must emphasize the fact that the Ghana Police Service is able and capable and has the ability to arrest these criminals. And I'm at this point, on the behalf of the Inspector General of Police and the police administration, assuring everybody in the nation that these criminals, especially those who committed last week's crime, and all others who have committed such crime in recent times, are going to be arrested soon. And when I say soon, they will be arrested soon. However, it is important that members and everybody in the society will get the allowance and help the police in achieving this objective to guarantee your confirmation into the public service. I need not also emphasize that you are joining the police at a time that armed robbery has become imminent and present danger to our peace. And like I said earlier on, the police service legitimacy is based on our ability to fight crime. And this we want to assure the nation that the Inspector General of Police has put on innovative and new ideas to help combat the menace that is confronting us now. And I want to re-emphasize and assure the nation that
COP Kofi Boakye there, he says the robbers will be arrested and they will be arrested soon. Well, there was another attack in the central region where police say they are investigating the circumstances which led to that attack on the bullion van at the Gomwa Ochirko on the Kaswa-Winneba Road yesterday. The van came under attack but was rescued by the police patrol team that was with it. The Central Region Police PRO, DSP Sewa Irenopon, has been giving some updates.
On the 17th of June 2020, at 7 p.m., an extract of occurrence was received from Winneba Police Station to the effect that a bullion van with registration number JN 695617 on board by Jane Sergeant Frank Ajimai and 2 others, including the driver, who was coming from Zenith Bank Odoko branch, were attacked by an unknown persons who shot into the van when they got in between Ochireko and Dominase Highway, heading towards Winneba branch. They went to the police station to report, and the Winneba police gave them an escort, additional van with police officers to escort them from Winneba to Zenith Bank Odoko. Currently, the case is under investigations, and whatever comes out will be shared.
DSP Irenopon speaks for the Central Region Police. My colleague Richard Kojonyako is joining us to give us more. Hello, Richard. What more do we know about this particular attack?
So what we do know is that it happened between the Winneba Junction and then Potton area. So that is where Ochrekwe is located. And this incident hasn't really happened in the central region before. And so the police are serious about it. They say they have detailed men around the area combing for the suspect, the people that may have carried out this attack. In fact, all the 3 occupants escaped unhurt. And at the moment, the police tell us that they are working on them psychologically because it has had some effect on the policemen. And so they say they are working feverishly to ensure that these people are apprehended. So whatever they will do, they will apprehend these suspects.
What it means is that the money is intact and the people who are moving this money are safe as well, Richard.
Exactly. So the suspected persons, those who carried that act, took to their heels after they were unsuccessful because no one got injured in the process, because the main idea was to shoot and then shoot the driver, immobilize the vehicle, and then attack them. But when they saw that the vehicle was still moving, they took to their heels and ran away. And so the sum of 550,000 Ghana cedis is intact. And so they escorted them to where they were expected to go.
Interesting. You've been in touch with the police, and we've had DSP Irene Opon. Is there any other information the police has shared with you that's different from what she's just said?
Also, they say they are taking the security of the region very serious. I did interact with the police regional team, and they say that they have sent men out there, some in plain clothes, others in also police uniform, to ensure that the security of the region is intact and everybody is safe in the region.
Richard, thank you very much. Richard Kojonyako, Central Region Correspondent there. Well, I'm taking you to the Upper East now, and Public Affairs, Director of Public Affairs for the Police, Superintendent Sheila Kese Abeye Bakman, has said that the recent wireless message warning about possible attacks on Ghanaians by Burkinabe bandits should not be seen as a cause for alarm. She says the message rather should be seen as a signal to be alert. Upper East Regional Minister Stephen Yakubu said the security there was on high alert and also encouraged citizens to report any suspicious strangers in their communities. Well, the Director of Public Affairs for the Police says the regular number of uniformed men at the border areas does not necessarily indicate a lack of security presence. She was speaking to journalists after attending the passing out of police recruits from the Police Public Safety Training School at Pualugu in the Upper East region.
So, first of all, I want to assure you that there is maximum security in the Upper East region. There is maximum security in Ghana. We continue to pick intelligence from time to time, and some of them is based on the topography of crime happening across the sub-region. So when intelligence or when information is picked and processed into intelligence, actions are taken. The communication you saw is one of several communications that have been going on and will continue to go on in different forms. It is no cause for alarm. What it is that it should put everyone on alert. In the Upper East region here, we know that we have borders that people can come through. We are friendly people, and so we welcome strangers and visitors like our own. This is a wake-up call that when we see people that we do not know, we will inquire and possibly report their movements and activities to the security services for action. It is an assurance that security services have picked up whatever information a long time ago, and we are working on it. Thankfully today, over 2,000 new police officers have passed out. They would go through different forms of training to beef up the numbers, even to increase visibility across the country. So it is only an assurance for us that we must be alert. The security services already know what to do, and we are doing them. We just have to be alert and report activities, particularly of people who are not known in our communities.
Superintendent Sheila Abeye Bakman speaks for the police service. Still watching the Pulse with me, Gifty and up here. I'm going to take a very quick break. When I return, I want to take you to the court. We'll hear how the Opuni trial is ongoing. Welcome back and many thanks for staying with us. Chief Justice Kwesi Yeboah is being asked to stop Supreme Court Judge Clemens Honyanuga from hearing the case involving former Cocoa CEO Dr. Stephen Opuni. Dr. Opuni is accused of causing a $217 million financial loss to the state in the purchase of fertilizer from businessman Seidu Agongo. The two have been standing trial since 2017, with Justice Honyanuga hearing the matter as an additional High Court judge. He has been accused of bias. Court correspondent Joseph Akable was in court today as the new petition to the Chief Justice was announced.
The tussle between Justice Honyanuga and Dr. Opuni's lawyers continues. The lawyers have tried at least 3 times to have him removed. This is therefore the 4th of such an application. The previous 3 applications had hinged on comments the judge made in his capacity as a chief and in his rulings as a judge. In 2020, he was accused of bias after he had praised government's implementation of the free senior high school program during a speech in his capacity as a chief. A request was laid before him in court demanding his recusal. He turned down this request, causing the lawyers to petition the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice dismissed the petition. The lawyers in May this year made another recusal request. The alleged Justice Honyanuga, while ruling on the submission of no case application, made definitive comments suggesting Dr. Opuni had committed a crime, even though the case had not ended. He is also accused of saying he intends to determine the matter expeditiously, something the lawyers say would deny Dr. Opuni a fair trial. Justice Honyanuga said he will continue to hear the case, describing the application as one made in bad faith. The Chief Justice is being asked to intervene yet again by transferring the case to a different judge. The case has therefore been adjourned to June 29 as the court awaits the Chief Justice's direction on the matter.
Joseph Akable with that report. Chairperson of the COVID-19 Trust Fund, former Chief Justice Sophia Akuffo, has appealed to COVID-19 Trust Fund brand ambassadors to use their every opportunity available to them to raise funds for the trust. In an event to inaugurate the brand ambassadors, Madam Sophia Akuffo said their selection is a vote of confidence in their ability to deliver.
Should endeavor henceforth to use every platform and opportunity that will become available to them or that they will create, either on their own or in collaboration with others, to help raise more funds and contributions in cash and in kind from individuals, corporate organizations, groups, institutions, and NGOs to support the trust fund in the discharge of its mandate. That the trustees and the trust fund recognize, acknowledge, and highly value your expertise, your skills, and your competencies. And we trust in your ability to deliver on this task that we're going to put on your shoulders.
The chairperson also said that the fund has so far spent about 49,757,816 cedis, 14 pesos.
COVID-19 National Trust Fund has to date spent an amount of 49,757,816 cedis and 14 pesos. I don't know why they always add those pesos. Out of the cash donations of 57,174,014 Ghana cedis, 38 pesos received. We are very accurate, you can see. In addition, the trust fund has donated material gifts, food and non-food items, vehicles, ambulances, assorted drinks, etc., that we have received in kind from over 600 donors made up of individuals, social groups, religious bodies, NGOs, public and private associations, corporate bodies, to whom we are all extremely grateful.
Chief Justice Sophia Akuffo. JoyNews' Israel Lai, one of the selected ambassadors, says they are prepared to put their hands to the wheel and work.
And as ambassadors, we pledge to put at the disposal of the fund our talents and abilities to push the cause. of the fund. It comes at a rather difficult time, and I'll explain why in a bit. It comes at a time when there's COVID-19, there's been a pandemic, and the economy is suffering, and yet we have to go out there to the companies and try and convince them to support the cause. It comes at a time when many people in Ghana actually feel that there's no COVID-19, and so they've stopped wearing their masks. And yet we have to go out there and convince them that there's still COVID-19. And maybe let me just add this to it. It was just yesterday, it was in the news that a 12-year-old girl who got COVID-19 is suffering from the effects of it 1 year on. She's still in hospital and she's paralyzed. So there are those who will die when they get COVID-19. There are those who will survive. But there are those too who will survive and have to live with the effects of the disease for a really long time. That is why we must all make sure we're taking very good care of ourselves. Again, we're being inaugurated as ambassadors at a time when the images of the president and his vice and the Chief Justice being splashed, and they are under fire for disregarding the same protocols that we're supposed to be observing. We, as ambassadors, describe that event and the images as unfortunate. And we pray that it does not happen again.
Israel Lai is one of the ambassadors. Minister for Lands and Natural Resources Samuel Abu-Jinapor says government's efforts to clamp down on illegal mining activities is yielding unprecedented results. According to him, reports from monitoring teams within the red zone indicates that the water bodies are beginning to clear up. He is therefore assuring of government's unflinching resolve to continue until the Galamsey menace is uprooted. The minister has been speaking at a press briefing on Ghana's collaboration with the British government on fighting climate change.
Appreciate that the effort to sanitize the small-scale mining industry is a process. It cannot be an event. And I think it's important that as a people we are honest to each other. And as your minister responsible for that sector and the agent of the president in that sector, the first requirement of mine is to be candid with the Ghanaian people. It cannot be an event. We can't wake up one morning and find that all the issues of illegal small-scale mining have been resolved. Because the matters of illegal small-scale mining, as we will all attest to, are systemic, are endemic, are long-standing. We've had this problem since the 1980s, and they've built up to this point. Secondly, I believe we will all also acknowledge that the efforts that are being made now are, if you want, one of the most revolutionary. And the impact we are making today, in all humility, is unprecedented. So what is the way forward? The way forward is to be resolute, is to keep up with it and be as open as we can, take ideas from all sorts of people, and just keep at it. Sustainability. The places we declared as red zones, the water bodies and the forest reserves. So far, the reports that have been coming in consistently indicate that a lot of impact is being made. The water bodies are beginning to recover. The rate of destruction of our forest cover is reducing. These are all good indications, but we have to sustain the effort. You are right. The introduction of technology is key. And I can say to you and to the Ghanaian people that at the level of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, we are actively engaged with stakeholders to be able to deploy the workable solution, technological solution, which will enable, for instance, the minister in the comfort of his office, to be able to tell what is happening in Asankragra or happening in Obuasi or happening in Azim in terms of illegal small-scale mining. And let me just conclude by giving a firm assurance that the government of President Akufo-Addo is absolutely committed, very unflinching, when it comes to dealing with the issue of illegal small-scale mining. We do so because it's about the survival of our country. Clearly, if we don't deal with this menace, it is simply going to derail our country. It's going to get to a point where we'll become a net importer of water, where we don't have a forest cover, where we don't have our river bodies. So it is just so imperative that we get on with this, and we'll get on with it.
Lands and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu Jinapo, also speaking at the press conference, was the UK's Minister of State for Business, Energy and Clean Growth, Anne-Marie Trevelyan, who commended the Forestry Commission for its digital piece of mapping within the Kumasi metropolis.
Is to help understand the key drivers for stabilizing the cocoa production and understanding. So one of the things that I saw yesterday was understanding about planting more cover so that the cocoa plants which need this very stable ecosystem to grow successfully. So that's one of the areas that the partnership has invested in, is to understand, to help educate farmers and indeed to help deliver more cover, planting more trees that can give cover to the cocoa plants so that they can have a higher yield. Your Forestry Commission to map. I was able to visit yesterday in Kumasi to see the work that's been going on, and that first stage of mapping is now complete, and it's an incredibly powerful tool for both the Forestry Commission and more widely indeed for business wanting to invest, wanting to know where the sustainable investment in forestry is and where that management to secure afforestation is going on. So it's going to be a really, really useful piece of work that's been done, and obviously will continue to then be used by the Forestry Commission in the years ahead. But it's been a great collaboration to help do that initial digital piece of mapping, and it was great to see it.
A multi-sectoral Rwandan delegation is in Ghana to explore business opportunities and also deepen the bilateral relations between the two countries. Their arrival is in response to an earlier visit in March this year, where a trade and media delegation from Ghana undertook a tour in Rwanda to promote regional tourism and trade in anticipation of greater collaboration under the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. The delegation is expected to have a tour of historical and cultural sites in the Greater Accra region, Ashanti and Central regions. Christian Yale's report read to you.
The 38-member Rwandan delegation, comprising government officials and people in the private sector, will look out for opportunities in business, tourism and economic development. Nana Osafo Kantanka is the advisor to the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture.
To be able to get Africa to be independent, to grow our economies and to be able to make things work for us, even in the global side, we think that we must first of all do business within Africa. Tourism can be done within Africa. Today is Ghana, Rwanda. Tomorrow we'll be going to Nigeria, we'll be going to Senegal, and we believe that such reciprocal visits back to Ghana will begin to lay the blocks for the kind of tourism development and potentials that we're expecting in the very near future.
The Rwandan High Commissioner to Ghana, Aisha Kachira, said the visit would help to promote trade among the countries.
3 key areas of focus clearly came out as potential areas of stronger cooperation, and these are tourism, trade, and business investment and education. I'm very delighted today that this Rwandan delegation is completing the loop of exploring and getting a common understanding of the available resources that can be exploited more strategically and at scale to enhance the benefits of both countries.
Christian Yale's report. Ghana is among 8 countries from 3 continents securing support from the Dutch government to initiate social justice. Star Ghana and the West Africa Civil Society Institute are leading the project in Ghana. Individual NGOs and media houses will embark on a series of development activities by harnessing local resources at the community level under the 5-year project. MFA Etiamwa Eli has more.
Prevailing times are pushing nations and individuals to be self-reliant. Key way to achieving this change is by galvanizing local philanthropy to initiate development. These are the remarks of renowned local philanthropist Dr. Kofi Osei-Kusi at the launch of the Giving for Change project spearheaded by Star Ghana Foundation and WASI.
Being a philanthropist is nothing really extraordinary. It's about, a private initiative, private people having the sense of, doing something for the public good. And like you rightly said, we certainly need to reignite that. What makes humanity is when we actually think about other people. Like myself, we didn't start what we're doing with millions in our account. We just started with a sense of looking at the problems that the youth are facing in this country and asking ourselves, what can we do about these issues? What can we do about the young people in prisons? What are we doing about young people on the streets? What are we doing about people with disabilities that are struggling to have access to education? And the question is, once you start from somewhere, you'll be amazed about how far it will take you. So there is hope for this nation if people are going to rise up, look at the problems, and forget about what is in it for them and think about what they can do for their country.
For the Dutch ambassador to Ghana, Ronald Stryker, the Giving for Change project is a game changer for Ghana's future.
In many countries, the state is the main actor. But in free societies, and free societies have citizens, not subjects. It's a different thing. Citizens, free society have citizens. The citizens can organize themselves and stand up for themselves as well, alongside the state, and maybe even for the same purpose, to achieve the same things or to achieve other things, but they themselves have a responsibility as citizens to work for their society. Apart from the state, as I said, and apart from the private sector, that is the civil society. And that is a fundamental part of our society too in the Netherlands, and I think it is also a fundamental pillar of Ghana, because Ghana is a free country.
Kwame Sefakai of the Kukuroko Charities, an NGO which is into the provision of child incubators, said philanthropy demands trust and commitment. A key concern of project implementers bothered on understanding the role of culture and its impact on the execution of a change project. Former MD of Stanbic Bank, now a chief, Na Al-Hassan Andani, gives some advice.
We've come from feudal traditional kingdoms where all the kingdoms had systems to look after themselves, to colonial administration where we are put under one kind of governance system that had its own objectives. Those objectives were not about looking after us. It was about looking after the colonial kingdoms that brought them here. We transitioned to government. Again, our own history of governance has brought us thus far, where we have, thank God, at least two counterbalancing factors or forces. So what we need now to move forward is a very energized civil society organizations that you all sitting here represent.
A total of €1,899 will be expended on the 5-year-long project in Ghana.
MFR Eli filed that report. Ibrahim Amin Tanko is Executive Director for Star Ghana Foundation. He's joining me via Zoom. Mr. Tanko, good afternoon and thank you for your time for this brief conversation. We're looking at an angle of exploring local philanthropy to develop our country. How does Star Ghana envisage will go about it?
Thank you very much, and my pleasure to be with you. What our main strategy is to work with a number of partners to test different models of local philanthropy, working with community-based organizations to look at local philanthropy around service delivery, working with a number of our media partners to look at service delivery in relation to previous work that they have already done in raising funding to support others. And then working with a number of partners to also look at the enabling national policy environment for local giving or for local philanthropy.
And from your experience and your interactions, do you believe that there is that philanthropic base here in Ghana that's ready to put away skepticism, about leadership, because you hear a lot of complaints about leadership. Do you get the feeling that there is that base here, philanthropic base here, to kick off this quest for more involvement of local philanthropies?
Yes, indeed. And I think even for multimedia has demonstrated that it is possible. I mean, with your recent fundraising to support victims of the flooding in northern Ghana. So the basis is there, the experiences are there. I think what we need to do is to look at how we address the challenges and the concerns people have. As you've rightly mentioned, there's the issue about accountability, there's the issue about leadership, there's also the issue of how we select relevant projects or initiatives that we would like to support through local philanthropy. And I think it is our combined responsibilities, our joint responsibility, to see how we can address these challenges, because local philanthropy offers a sustainable way forward in addressing issues of access to services and development.
Is there a strategy?
Yes, there is indeed a strategy, which I said it's around one, strengthening the enabling policy or regulatory environments for local philanthropy, two, testing different models of local philanthropy, addressing local issues, addressing national issues, etc. And then also looking at philanthropy beyond fundraising, to also focus on the part about volunteerism, people donating of their time, giving time, partaking in national activities, which is also part of philanthropy, and then looking at all these different ways of doing it.
Well, certainly JoyNews will be here to contribute our quota to making this work for good. Mr. Tanko, thank you very much for your time. Ibrahim Tanko Amidu there is Executive Director, Star Ghana Initiative there. Well, so we're bringing you sports and let's talk showbiz to wrap it all up. But let me just bring to you the stories that you're reading at myjoyonline.com. Bank of Ghana directs banks, SDIs to abolish unfair fees, charges and others. That's the story just coming in. Attacks on bullion vans by armed robbers. Fresh case on Kaswa Winneba Road. Certainly disturbing story that we brought you earlier. Wesley Girls, 6 other schools come tops in WASSCE ranking for Central Region. Go away, Gehe. And of course, there are our handles that you can share these stories with your contacts so they know what's happening. My name is Gifty Andopia. It's always a pleasure coming your way.